And here we have another sort of oddity, a Miele H1 Swing, the Quick Step as it's also called. It kind of reminds me a little bit of those old 3-in-1 machines where it was essentially a dustbuster on a stick with a removable nozzle, only these, they're a little bit different from those because these are a little bit more like a full-size machine than a stick. Because they have a fairly large motor in them. I think it's rated for 1,000 watts, and then we actually have an electrical port here, so this can be plugged directly into one of Miele's power heads, like the 217, 238, or the 228 or the 238. And then we have a 2-speed motor here, which I've never had one of these apart until I got this one. I actually learned that there are 2 micro switches inside this cavity, and when you turn this on low speed, only one of the micro switches is active, but when you bring it down to maximum, it activates both of them. I thought that was a little bit unusual, and I also tried just activating the high speed switch and it does nothing, so clearly that second one just tells it to activate the high speed mode, and then I am missing the lower cord hook. The other one was damaged and the only thing on there was the ring. It didn't even have the little plastic stub sticking out of it, so I figured I'll just cut it off and replace it at some point. But we have a removable handle, which is also a wand. So you can use this thing in a few different configurations. So this can plug directly into here and snaps into place. And then we come back down here, and it's a non-electric wand. I always kind of wondered why they didn't put an electric connector on these. That way, you know, you could have a power head on the end of here to get under things that were a little bit lower to the ground. Lower clearance would be a better term. Just doesn't want to connect. But it does. Oh, there we go. We're on. So you could put your floor tool on the end of here, you could put your attachments on here, and then there's supposed to be a little tool caddy for it too, which clips onto the wand, and that would usually hold an upholstery tool and a crevice tool. Strangely, no dusting brush, but they were kind of odd little machines. I'm gonna have to pause that to get that off. And then on the inside here, we have a bottom fill bag. There is a little rubber flap in the fill tube here that keeps it from like spilling back out. And then we have a little pre-motor filter. Motor's right behind here, right behind this assembly. We have a fairly well sealed bag chamber. And when the door closes, this is pushed against here. There's a little spring down there which kind of pushes it out like that when the bag door is opened. And then we have an after filter. This is this is not a fun machine to demonstrate single-handedly. Okay, there we go. Here's our after filter. Or you can use a HEPA filter. But if you use the air clean filters that come in the... I haven't even run this thing that much. I'm surprised there's that much carbon dust on it. But, yeah, if you use the active, or not active air clean, these are just called air clean filters, you'll want to have this grate in place. But if you're using a HEPA filter, you would want to have that removed. So our exhaust path here is fairly simple too, because the motor's right here. So it comes through this filter, and then it's shoved into these little tubes on the side where it's exhausted through the sides of it. We go on easier, and it comes off. Yep. And now for the voltage and wattage. Well, I guess we won't be able to do that after all. There's just certain machines that won't run with That is so weird. Pretty close to that 1,000 watt mark it's rated for. I don't know what it is with some of these machines, like the Cibo Felix 2 didn't seem to run when it was plugged into this. I don't know if something in there just isn't making contact or what, but it really only seems to affect European machines. And then we're just going to do the airflow back-to-back, and then we'll do suction back-to-back. So we have a little reducer here, 35 to 32, to make this work. So we'll start with low. And then we'll switch to high. Weird. You know, considering how straight the air path is here, I really thought, you know, the airflow should be a bit higher than what it is, but I don't know. It just isn't quite what I thought. Because, I mean, it's not like it's a small, not like it's a super small motor or low wattage or anything. The air path, like I said, fairly straight, so it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because you think it would have like 110 or something like that, given the short distance it has to travel. But what do I know? Now we'll do suction. And I do believe this has a suction relief valve in it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. Well, that, and we have the bag indicator too, and that does leak. So yep, now the indicator's open. Makes it a little bit hard to gauge its suction when you can't get a full seal. But, you know, there's always a good reason for a suction relief valve to be in place. Unit gets clogged up, you know, at least then it can kind of draw air in through that, and it's almost like a warning sign, really. When you hear that hissing, you know something is going wrong. I can never get a great seal on these little nozzles, and there's a lot of opportunity for leakage in them, so take the airflow readings with a grain of salt, just because we know there are issues with them, on the boxes at least. Okay. And then we're not getting a reading for suction here because we have air leaking around the neck, around the pedal, around the swivel. I mean, it's all over the place. And same thing here, although it almost holds it. Alright, and we'll just go for high speed here for the pickup test. We're sticking to the floor somewhat, so we might see a little bit of snow plowing. And the neck is a little sticky, so we're kind of seeing it rise up off the floor too. You know, ooh. It's got enough power to run it, but it too kind of sticks. And just because we can, so yeah, it's kind of a fun little thing. There's different ways to use it, so kind of adds a little variety, I guess.